Tyler Warren, over 575 and a half receiving yards. Absolutely love this play for a lot of different reasons. Number one is that if you look at the trajectory of the tight ends that have been coming into the NFL, they have somewhat been consistently around or over this number. Now, granted, he's a high draft pick. Obviously, Bowers last year had like over 1,100. If you look the year before that, Laporta had 889, Kincaid had 673, and both of those guys were not as highly touted as Tyler Warren was coming out of college. You have the year before that. I'm just going down in chronological order. So they had a down year in 2022. Okongwu only had 450 yards. You had Pitts for Atlanta, and these are all rookie tight ends coming in that I'm naming off. So the rookie tight ends, he had over 1,000. He had another down year due to COVID, so a lot of that stuff was watered down. You had Fant from Iowa who had over 600, and you had Andrews who had 552 in 2018. So that stretch, I think that he is fits well within the top end for Bowers, and then the bottom end, which what I would probably go with Mark Andrews at about 550. I think he's somewhere in the middle of that. And when I'm looking at the wide receiver room, in I don't think that anybody, if you're not a football fan, I don't think anybody can name three wide receivers for the Indianapolis Colts right now. No, just wide receivers. I don't think anybody can name three, and that's perfect because he should garner a lot of targets. Daniel Jones loved the intermediate action. He loves the play action across the middle. I think we'll see a lot of that. There'll be a lot of negative game scripts from the point spreads throughout their schedule. You can tell they're going to be playing from behind a lot. And the Colts tight end production has not been, it's been scarce the last 6 or 7 years. Last year combined, their tight ends had 39 catches for 487 yards. I think that Tyler Warren will exceed that maybe by a couple hundred yards. Jack Doyle was the last tight end to go over 500 yards for Indianapolis. He had 575 in 2019. So I think we see a resurgence of Tyler Warren. I mean, a resurgence of this offense with Tyler Warren. They're going to move him all over the field. He's going to play in the slot. He's going to play on the line. He might come out of the backfield and catch some. Exactly how Penn State used him last year is exactly what I'm expecting the usage rate to be for their number one pick. So Tyler Warren over 575 yards, one of my favorite plays on the slate. Well,
Yeah,
on the season. I'm sorry.
for those listeners that are still getting to know Lante, he is a Giants fan, so he knows about Daniel Jones. But
Unfortunately,
I may have made the greatest bet ever on Daniel Jones for comeback player of the year once those numbers came out, or I may have made the dumbest. I'm holding that CLV already
it's
just
there.
because
It's there. It's there.
because
Opportunity
yeah,
is there.
the opportunity's there. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I like this as well. I think you mentioned a lot of the things here for this offense for the coach. Just a lot of inconsistencies from the wide receiving room. And I know the one consistent guy has been Michael Pittman Jr. For this Colts team. But outside of that, it's been a lot of guys that you're trying to figure out from a week to week standpoint on who's going to step up. And maybe at the tight end position now, Tyler Warren can provide some type of stability or at least a second or third option for this Colts offense. I know obviously you have Jonathan Taylor in the backfield there, but um, hopefully Daniel Jones is not making a lot of mistakes this upcoming season for this Colts team, because I feel like that's really taken away from the abilities of what we can see from a guy like Shane Steichen, who came over from at least from the Eagles a couple years ago, but he just hasn't had consistent quarterback play. I mean, they've gone from Anthony Richardson to now to Daniel Jones. Philip Rivers was in the mix. I believe was it Joe Flacco last season that was there as well, if I'm not mistaken, for this Colts team. So it's just been a quarterback carousel for this Colts team, and I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is going to be a long term solution, but it seems like right now that they possibly may have swung and missed on Anthony Richardson, especially where they drafted him so high a couple seasons ago in that draft there. But as far as Tyler Warren goes, I mean, like you mentioned, they did a phenomenal job last year when in his college season using him. And if you're watching Penn State games, you are a Penn State fan or just a college football fan in general. I mean, this is a big guy, 6'6", 256 pounds. So you can see a lot of red zone. You can see a lot of targets going his way, especially that height that he has over a lot of these defensive players for this upcoming season. So I'd be with you on that before I'd be against you there with Tyler Warren. All right, for my last one, not a lot of tight ends stuck out to me, but I think one wide receiver that I do like for this upcoming season as well. something about the NFC South, I guess I'm attracted to here is Drake London to go over his number of 1,225 and a half receiving yards. And when I was looking into Drake London, the craziest part that stuck out to me, if I could get those words out, was his longest reception last year, Lante, was 39 yards. 39 yards was his longest reception last season for the Atlanta Falcons. And of course, a lot of that was with Kirk Cousins. He's another team that had a quarterback carousel there, but now enter Michael Penix Jr. And I think that he can give him some stability at that quarterback position. I think that we may see a little bit of more of a downfield threat for Drake London. I should say, some bigger plays as far as yards go for Drake London. And look, even though his longest reception last season was 39 yards, he was still number 4 as far as receiving yards leader last season, 1,271, trailing only Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Brian Thomas Jr. last year. He averaged 12.7 yards per catch, played in all 17 games, had 158 targets, had a 100 reception yard season. So if you want to go either receptions for Drake London or if you want to take the yardage, I couldn't talk you off of that. I think this should be a monster year for Drake London again, maybe even getting into the realm of 1,200 yards, 1,300, 1,400 yards possibly. And I know Lante he's a college football guy here, so I'll let him talk about Michael Penix and what that could mean for Drake London. But even though this number is above 1,000 here, Lante, I do feel like that Drake London could repeat at minimum getting 1,200 yards, of course, barring injury with this Atlanta Falcons team. And another team that could possibly be trailing in games having to throw the football.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, I'm also a USC fan, and London is a USC guy. So yeah, I saw him a ton. Obviously, I mean, a lot like the comparisons for him coming out of USC was a lot like the Mike Evans comparison. Big receiver, physical, not a sharp route runner, kind of just a guy that can get to his spots and raise up. And we saw it with Tedero McMillan, who got drafted by the Carolina Panthers in his division as well. So completely agree with you with that. Schematically, I think Penix is a lot more. We saw Kirk Cousins, kind of have to get back to himself, and the arm strength is not what it used to be. I mean, obviously coming off the injury, Michael Penix is a gunslinger. He can throw the ball all over the yard, make all the throws, and I think what's going to be key is I really do think they'll use Drake London a lot more in the slot this year. And he was dynamic out of the slot. He was dynamic in the slot in college. Limited opportunities. I think he'll be there, and he'll be on the. It's weird whenever they're dropping back. The quarterback usually tends to throw to the right-handed. Usually throw to the right side. I think Mike Evans will be lined up on the left side, so he'll be obviously the first. I mean, not Mike Evans. Drake London. Yeah. He'll be the first read for Michael Penix coming out. Safety blanket. He can go under. He's like underneath. He's not really a burner like you talked about with the reception with the longest reception, but he's effective when he gets open. I think the offense will take a tick up. And I do think that he benefited last year from those guys like Raven McLeod. Pitts was okay. He's supposed to take another step, but he's always been supposed to take another step since first year. But I do think the guys that the ancillary pieces around Atlanta, I really did think that they did a great job of complementing Drake London and Bijan Robinson as well. So I do think that he could have a big breakout year. I took a little piece of money on him to lead the league in receiving yards.
All right, yeah. So that it really backs my over here for Drake London. I was just trying to look up what his receptions number was for this upcoming season. I'm not sure I see that for the season long. I see his week 1 lines are out, but I don't see. Yeah, I don't see a total receptions number right now for Drake London, but. Yeah, I think it should be another big year for Drake London. And with Michael Penix Jr. now being the full-time quarterback there for this Atlanta Falcons team, gives them at least hopefully some stability at that quarterback position. And hopefully Drake London is the beneficiary of that for the Atlanta Falcons. So that's for each. Lante, anything that's maybe on a short list that you were looking at that you're trying to get to the window with, or you've already gone to the window with that you want to let our listeners know? Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick, George Pickens, I like him over what is this 8 this is 886 or 888. I'm sorry, you could probably find a little bit better.
Yeah, let me find it.
Yeah, these numbers are a little bit weird. But I think he can be a fringe 1,000-yard receiver. He's over this number in back-to-back years. Less receptions and less targets last year, still went over. The only time he went under was his rookie year. And this will be the best quarterback and the best offensive system that he's played in for obvious reasons. Pittsburgh wanted to run the ball first. And now I think he's in a contract year. He's also being slotted into the number two receiver. He's not the number one. CD's the clear number one there. So he'll be getting second hand coverage. He'll be getting the team's second best DB. The deep ball is going to be there. I think CD will attract a lot of attention underneath. He'll be used more in the slot as well, and Pickens can go on the outside. So I like George Pickens. I like him over his receiving yards total. I think it'll be a big year for him. Not really big on the Cowboys, but I do think offensively, with the way that they're able to, and I mean they can't run the football. I mean, well, on paper, it
Yeah.
doesn't like to be able to run the football. So I like them airing it out a lot. We saw Dak throw the ball extremely well and a lot of volume. So just off those sheer things alone, I think he should be closer to like 950 a year.
Yeah, I see 875 and a half.
Oh yeah, perfect.
I think consensus is around 900 and a half
That's
for
fine.
George Pickens. But what also you mentioned, right? He's going from the Steelers, where, like you mentioned, a run first team, where now you're going to a Cowboys team that really doesn't have much of a running game at all. I know they picked up Javante Williams, who was with the Broncos. And I think they also have Miles Sanders as number two guy, possibly behind him. But those guys aren't really world beaters. I think last season, this was during the season, I think that Jerry Jones or the Cowboys brass mentioned that there was an opportunity to pick up Derrick Henry, and they didn't do it. Now they're struggling to find some answers in the backfield there for this Cowboys team. So, the point that you mentioned is I really like backing guys that are in a contract year. And, you got to go out and prove it. Of course, a lot of this, when we talk about these season long player props, is barring injury and health, of course, because that could derail your overs. But George Pickens, I think, is going to be in that mode of where he wants to go out and prove it and earn a contract, whether it's going to be a long term contract with the Dallas Cowboys, next to CD Lamb for the duration of his career, or maybe that is with another team there. So I like that here. I think, again, this is going to be a team that's going to be, I think, very, very reliant on the passing game
Yeah.
for the upcoming season. And again, I don't think they'll get much out of the running game. And this could be another year where the defense struggles for the Dallas Cowboys and they're trailing in games. They're going to have to throw the football, especially with all the
Over
money that,
City. Over
yeah.
City.
So, yeah, another team that you're paying, or another team that's paying a lot to Dak, to CeeDee Lamb. I mean, you got to get your value out of those guys, especially throwing the football. So, and now with George Pickens in the fold there, I think that's going to be a good opportunity for him, especially with the attention that CeeDee Lamb is going to command on this offense. Um, as far as some of the other ones that I was looking at, I really like Bucky Irving this upcoming season here, Lante.
Oh man, you're brave. I don't know what they're gonna do with that backfield.
So a lot of what I'm reading is that I think that he has earned the RB1 position. I think this could be a 1,000-yard season for him. I mean, look, last year he only ran the ball 207 times. He still finished up with 1,122 rushing yards,
Oh
and that
yeah.
was 5.4 yards per carry. He had 8 rushing touchdowns. I believe Rashad White is already injured or is going to start the season with some type of injury.
Uh,
But I think we may see a transition here of Bucky Irving being that number one guy for this offense. Rashad White is dealing with a groin injury
oh yeah.
right
As
now. Considered day to day, but those could be very, very tricky. For running backs, especially obviously when they're using their legs, trying to move laterally and things like that. So, Bucky Irving for me, I like that over 1,000 and a half rushing yards. And I'll throw one more at you, and this one kind of derails one of my sleeper picks for the Super Bowl. So it's either Matthew Stafford's back injury is going to really bother him throughout the year, or this is a team that could be a kind of a sleeper to at least make it possibly to the NFC Championship game, because they have the offense, right? Devontae Adams, Nakua, Kyron Williams in the backfield. Defensively, I think there are some question marks there, but I think they'll be able to figure it out. And especially in the NFC West division, which I feel like from a team to team perspective has some question marks. This was prior, and I'm glad I did hit the submit button before we heard about all the back injuries and the issues that Matthew Stafford was having. And mean, look, he's going to be 37 years old, or he is 37 years old. He's turning 38 in February of next year. So could be around the Super Bowl there where, he might be celebrating his 38th birthday. But it's from a season perspective. This may be something I want to keep my eye on as the season progresses here, Lante, and get those updated numbers for Matthew Stafford. But I think with the back injury, I seen a lot of sharps come in on the under for Matthew Stafford, rightfully so, especially when you're dealing with a lingering back injury there. But I've been a Matthew Stafford guy. I just couldn't pull the plug on the over, but I think I'll have to keep an eye on it from a week to week perspective.
Yeah, I almost took the under. To be quite honest, for a lot of the reasons that you were talking about, like he was getting epidurals, and that's not what you want
Yeah.
to at that age. I mean, I understand it, but that's tough. And I mean, obviously Stafford has shown and proven what kind of toughness he has back in Detroit. Even for the Rams, he's banged up and still was coming back to play. But I do think it will be an element of, hey, let's kind of load manage Stafford. Let's hand the ball off to Kyron Williams. Let's do a little bit of our short stuff. Um, and I can kind of see McVay playing the long game and saying, hey, if we're down, 14, 15 points late, let's kind of get Stafford maybe out of the game, maybe hand the ball off a little bit. Not like conceding a loss, but kind of playing it a little bit smarter so they can preserve him for the playoffs if they're in position, because I think they'll be good enough and he can be a game manager and they still can go to the playoffs as a wild card or win that division. I mean, they're favored to do so. So completely agree with you on the stature of the Rams, like longevity. I'll be hesitant to play Stafford over. It would be under or nothing for me.
Sure. All right, that's all I have. You have anything else?
I mean, I like your team in the background, man. I love CJ Stroud. Over his passing yards, that was one of my favorite bets as well. He got the two Iowa State receivers, the 2,000-yard receivers from there, so he got
Yeah.
some depth there. Offensive line will be a lot better. They're mixing. They're missing like the running back. I don't know how I mean, you would know more than me. I don't know how much the running game is going to be implemented more so than using the short pass as an extension of the run game versus just handing the ball off. You know what I'm saying? But I
Yeah.
do think the depth is there. Obviously, Nico and Tank just being injured a ton, but I think they added the right amount of depth. I love the scheme. Love CJ Stroud bounce back year for him. That's one of another plays that I like CJ Stroud over. But I mean, if we keep talking, we're just gonna keep giving it. I can just
Yeah.
keep giving out more and more. But yeah, that's one of the other ones. Like that was on the top of my list. That when you said four, I was like, okay, that was like probably number six.
Yeah, so for the Texans, at least that backfield, we talked a lot about it on the fantasy pod. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that, check it out. We'll be there from week to week perspective. But the running game it's going to be, I think, by committee. Obviously, they did pick up Nick Chubb on a 1 year deal, kind of a prove it type of deal, coming off of the devastating knee injury, and he was still able to play 8 games under the Cleveland Browns there. But again, when you're coming off of the type of injury, it's going to be a lot of you trying to get the rust off. Because he didn't look like Nick Chubb of the past, where a guy that was averaging 5 yards per carry. I think it was a career low, obviously at 3.2. Joe Mixon is going to miss at minimum, the first 4 games for this Texans team. And when you're talking about foot injuries for the running back room or any running back, that's something that can be a cause of concern and something that lingers throughout the season. Seen a lot of love for Woody Marks, I believe, coming out of USC there for this
He'll
Texas.
be he'll it'll be his job soon. I'll promise you that because he's dual threat. He can do it all. He can run between the tackles. Yeah, he's a good scheme fit for the Texans. I didn't even think about him being implemented, but yeah, I think it'll be his job probably by the bye week. I would say.
Yeah, so I think we'll keep an eye on what Nick Chubb is able to do. I mean, I've always been a Nick Chubb guy, but again, when you're talking about those type of injuries, it could be slow there for Nick Chubb. But again, hopefully it is a bounce back season for the Tech, or at least for CJ Stroud. Last year, like you mentioned, they dealt with a lot of injuries at the wide receiver position with Nico being in out and Stephon Diggs with the torn ACL and Tank Dell going down. Those guys weren't able to play a lot of games together, and I think that was really a detriment to what CJ Stroud was able to or not able to do last season, coming off that phenomenal rookie year. And offensive line was obviously a huge concern. That was the biggest improvement that they needed to. So a little bit skeptical about it, but I think if CJ Stroud is able to really, build chemistry with the two guys that they drafted out of Iowa State, I think that obviously is only going to help CJ Stroud and his offense here for this Texans team. So